Yo, everybody left. But this week on the New Old Heads, we had some really good conversations on Trump, Snoop Dogg, Nelly, that whole thing, potentially being a sellout. Shouts to Rap Latte. We referenced a couple and reacted to a couple of their talking points on one of their latest videos. We also talk about the social media TikTok ban, but also how it relates to the music industry and the rap music industry versus like hip hop culture and how those things kind of collide with counterculture and who gets hurt the most in the particular instance of where we're at right now. We also talked about Mac Miller's Baloonerism. And did a Joey Badass react for his Sorry Not Sorry. So let's get into the episode. The reaction is for our Patreons only, but everything else, enjoy.
You're listening to the New Old Heads podcast, shot live every Tuesday at twitch.tv/newoldheads and released every Thursday at noon via bringingdowntheband.com. The show is brought to you by Coleman Dental, Indie CD and Vinyl. Support the show directly by becoming a member at patreon.com/newoldheads.
Welcome to the New Old Heads.
I guess we probably should have got that together.
We should have. Yeah, welcome to episode 421. I am Lonegevity. To my right is Jay Moore.
How you doing?
DJ Jay Diff is on the other side over here. And Maja 7th is working out some technical difficulties upstairs. So he may join us later on the episode. He may not. But
might not. It might just be us three today.
It might be. So
it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah. So shouts to this Chrome here on the thing. Yeah. So, all right, Jackson, I'm going to hand it over to you. Let you do the clicking. And we're going to probably jump into stuff pretty quickly here because we're a little behind. Yeah. So it's 2025. You know what I mean? And does hip hop need anything in 2025? You know, this is our second show of the year. You know, what are some things that you're looking forward to this year? You know, maybe culturally, potentially album releases, anything in general? I mean, is there anything that you kind of looking forward to in general?
As far as album releases, I can't really say that I'm waiting on someone to come out with an album.
Yeah,
we got Kendrick last year.
Hoping for another Kendrick. But I don't think that's gonna happen.
I mean, maybe we'll get a full project from Cole.
Yeah, that's definitely
Possibly.
in the works. Clips. Clips have a project coming out which is supposed to feature Kendrick on the song.
Yeah, so the Clips, I can look forward to that. That's something I can look forward to. I don't know. I mean, because now music just drops when it drops. It's not like back in the day when you'd open up this Source magazine and you'd see like your guy is about to drop in August, you know?
Yeah.
Or like I remember like the second Lynch Mob album that's like, you know, comes out on Halloween. Like they was trying to tie everything together. Now it's just like, oh yeah, the album comes out next week. Check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of feel the same way. There's nothing that I'm thinking of like I can think of like an artist. I'm just like, man, I'm just really ready for that to drop. I'm just not. I'm just here as a react person at this point. I'm just kind of like, you hit me with something and then, okay, cool, let's check that out.
I'm actually excited for the Clips album to drop, especially with it being the first album with Malice pretty much not being No Malice anymore, going back to his original moniker. I'm interested to hear what he has to say. Like, we already know what Pusha T does. I mean, he's been doing it for years in and years out, but to hear them together again, I'm interested to see what that's going to sound like. I wonder if it's going to be all Pharrell production. I wonder if they're going to go a different direction, if it's just going to have some songs with his production on it. You know what I'm saying? So I'm interested to see that or hear that actually.
Yeah, I mean, I'm always interested in like certain artists if they drop, but I just don't really know. I like the Mac Miller stuff that we're going to talk about later, the Baloonerism. That was a surprise and I enjoyed that album. But I think more so than anything, the one thing I would say that I'm kind of looking forward to is I'm very curious how the YouTube hip hop space continues to grow because it's been growing a lot in the last 6 months, 2 years, essentially since the Kendrick stuff started jumping off. You know, we started seeing a whole bunch of new creators populate, and I'm starting to see a lot more people that are like working with each other within that space and collaborating. And so I think that has the potential for us to kind of create a really cool unified grouping of hip hop creators, not so dissimilar to like when the blog era came out and there was a whole bunch of different blogs that was sharing music and talking about music, a whole bunch of different like voices in that manner. Maybe this is the renaissance of that sorts of this to maybe bring back some sort of curation and because there's really kind of there's something lacking when it comes to like sharing music and talking, not necessarily talking about music, but like boosting music outside of the main stuff that everybody talks about.
Absolutely.
You know?
I think I agree with you on that. This is almost like the second coming of the blog era, like on steroids, so to speak. Is the music going to match the same energy that we had back then? Because during the blog era, I mean, music was coming out every single day. I mean, granted, it still does, but it's not the blog era was essentially almost like the second golden age of hip hop to me. So you got a lot of great stuff out of there. You got a lot of thriving artists that are top of the game, top of the food chain right now. I don't think the music comes out the same way. Well, it's not presented to us the same way, because we essentially as bloggers were the ones that were introducing it to everybody. Right now, people pretty much, it's almost like they eliminate the middleman and just do it on their own. But we're finding ways to incorporate it with what we do now. So I'm kind of excited to see that.
Yeah, I'm also like with that. Like, I'm curious to if there's going to be more with these new creators that are coming out. Like, if there's going to be new creative ways to share the music, like the blog era kind of was, right? Because the one thing that we run into, and I talk about this all the time, it feels like, but like, it's still kind of hard to share music on YouTube because you always get blocked. But I wonder if there's going to be. I hope that what I kind of look forward to is those of us to figure out ways to amplify music again, outside of just talking about diss records or what's popular and stuff, to that kind of the stuff that we talked about last week a little bit. Like, you know, that's kind of what I'm hopefully looking forward to.
That's why it was kind of cool too during the blog era, because a lot of these artists didn't have record deals. So it didn't matter if you talked about the song. You could play it on your website or whatnot. And obviously those websites weren't monetized like that, but the traffic meant something. And that's where essentially you would get paid. Is more so off of what you're doing, and people come to you that might want you to publish something of that nature. But right now everybody has record deals. So it's a little different. Like, we would have to do more digging or actually go back to the same thing that we're doing back then. And I don't have the energy for that.
It would have to be, I think it's going to be in a different type of manner, but I think that's the one interesting thing I would say, like, out of everything related to the music and the hip hop culture and everything all considered, I think that's the one thing that I'm personally more interested in than anything. Obviously, if new music comes out and it's great, cool. But I'm curious to see what that new level of, or that new frontier of new journalism in a way, or new media in a way, continues to grow. So.
Right. Yeah, because we are the new old heads, so we don't have the time like we used to.
Yeah, that's just facts.
Yeah.
Welcome to 2025. Trump is the new president, and last Friday, hip-hop legend Snoop Dogg played at the Crypto Ball in Washington, D.C. that was hosted by David Sachs, Trump's crypto czar pick, if you will, to celebrate the incoming administration. And another rap legend, Nelly, performed at the Liberty inaugural ball.
So he actually
on Monday.
performed at the inauguration.
For sure.
Exactly.
And NBC News reports that rappers Rod Wave, Kodak Black, and Fivio Foreign, or Fivio, or whatever his name is, Fivio, it's the mouse name, right? Will also allegedly attend these events. I don't know if they did or not. But I have a clip here from King Green and Torre, who have a cool, show called Rap Latte, a YouTube channel that you should check out. So let's talk about this a little bit after they talk about what they talk about.
As far as why we're seeing more and more rappers supporting Trump, and I understand some of it, but I don't totally understand it. We talked a lot about it during the election as far as Sexy Red, Kodak Black, Kanye. It seemed like it was not a pariah thing to do or be in 2024, where in 2016 we were like, oh my God, Boss Hogg wants to be president. In 2024, a lot of rappers were like, maybe. Does a rapper supporting Trump right now make you say, I don't like you anymore as a musician, or agree to disagree, I'm still gonna listen to the music? Kanye, Snoop, Fivio, whoever? Or are you like, nah, that turns me off, I'm not you anymore? I mean, I have a hard time rocking with rappers who support Trump. I can't in my heart yet put that on Snoop, because I don't think Snoop is with Trump. I think he just said, I will go get a check and go back home. I don't think Snoop cares about politics one way or another. But Kanye Kodak, Sexy Red, some of the other people, Nikki, made a decision based on whatever information they had and wanted and let the world know this is where I stand. And when this white supremacist dictator was rolling into power, you said, I like that guy. What? Like, that's nuts. But that happened, and that angers me about those people.
Say it with your chest.
Mm-hmm.
Hey, no,
tell us how you really feel.
No, I mean, I agree. I personally agree with Torre on this. Like, I have, and this is not new on this show. I mean, I don't separate creatives from their art or artists from their art because I feel like great artists pull from who they are.
As far as Snoop is concerned, I do think he just did it for the check. Yeah. I think one of the things that Donald Trump and Snoop Dogg have very much in common is they really like who likes them. And so if he can get in front of people who will applaud and cheer for him, and you saw I thought it was very awkward when I saw the pictures that he took at this crypto ball and the pictures of the crowd at the crypto ball. There wasn't another black person pretty much in the entire room. If not, they didn't.
The soundtrack at the crypto ball that he was spinning was quite awkward.
So I have a lot less of a problem with Snoop than I do with Nelly. I don't even care. That Soulja Boy was there too. I know Soulja Boy was there for the check. He said as much. At least I can respect him for being honest. At least he said, look, I was here for the money.
But at the same time, like Nelly said, the money wasn't important. And to me, that made it worse.
That made it worse. And that he said, I don't know anything about this guy being racist. And now basically everybody has gone out of their way to school him on his history of racist behavior, whether it be his renting practices, his hiring practices when he had a casino, what he called for the deaths of the Central Park Five. What if we just say Donald Trump, he completely became a new person in 1995, and that's why Method Man had him on his album, and but you don't have to go back that far to where he not only said that Haitians were eating dogs and cats, but he doubled down on it when asked about it, and so that's nothing he's ever apologized for, or when he was given the correct information, he still said that was true. And like, that's about Haitians, but that is about othering just black people in general. Because if you live anywhere in that area, they're just going to assume that, you are, amongst the Haitians who are eating dogs and cats. And, there's a history of just attaching a certain level of, I don't even want to say savagery, because that's how they see it. It's like, well, they do this, and that's why you can't have them around your kids, and that's why we got to close off. We got to have different lunch counters and different water fountains, because they do these things, and you don't want that around your fine white children. So
I mean,
we're talking about, so when you can say, oh, he's not that, but like, he did this recently. There's enough things that Donald Trump has done in the last 10 years that even if we dismiss everything that we're talking about as far as if we're talking about
last year. I mean,
the hiring practice, say we want to leave all that Trump casino and real estate stuff in the past. There's enough he's done since he's been a public political figure that you can point to and say, well, what about this, Nelly? So to say that's, like I said, I feel like everybody else just went and got a check. I don't think they care. I just think Snoop, the bag must have been so significant and he can come back to the neighborhood and be like, man, I just went for the bag. And I guarantee that's what he's saying. I'm not sure if you've seen his Instagram, but he's tried to, like, in his own way, backpedal, not even by making statements, but by just what and I tell you what, his comment sections are in a shambles right now.
And they should be. I mean, that's kind of what I feel. I mean, like, the amount of, like, mental gymnastics that you have to perform to try to defend Trump at this point, like, you are either completely complicit, or you're completely, like, or you just don't know. Like, you just don't pay attention at all. Like, these things don't matter to you personally enough for you to care, because you are like Trump. I kind of agree with what Torre said here, in the sense of, like, I think Snoop probably did just do it for a bag, but at the same time, it's like, why? Because you're rich, you don't need to. You don't need to do this. Like, there's no reason for you to who on your team thought that this was a good idea. Like, you can't hide this. You can't, even if it's a private event, you can't hide the fact that you're doing an inauguration.
Yeah.
You know, the Nelly thing, the Soulja Boy thing, the Rick Ross thing, like, these are people in general, like, they've shown us multiple times that they don't really care about anything outside of themselves to some degree.
Yeah, because money changes people. I think
Well, they've been apolitical pretty much up to this point. Well, I can't even say that with Snoop because like there are some conservatives who were upset that he was at the crypto ball because they remember when he did the video with, you know, the fake Donald Trump in it.
Yeah, that's the whole thing with Snoop. The optics.
Snoop is the only one. Snoop is the only one. Everybody else, I wasn't surprised.
Yeah.
But also because Snoop had that video that he dropped in 2017.
Exactly.
Calling, you know, who's going to be the one that comes out and performs.
Who's going to pretty much be the one that shucks and jives and does this for Trump. So
ain't nobody going to perform for Donald Trump, huh? Which one of you jigaboo ass niggas gonna be the first one to do it? I'm waiting. I'm gonna roast the fuck out one of you.
That's the thing that bothers me about the whole Snoop situation. Regardless if he did something at a event that had Trump there or not, because you can't say something like that and be so passionate about it and then show up to this. Now, I do know he's been instrumental as far as is concerned with crypto. Mm-hmm. Like, I remember at one time when the what was that, the
metaverse?
When everybody was doing the monkeys.
Oh, like the NFT joints.
The NFTs. Yeah. I know Snoop had NFTs and stuff back then. So I know he's into crypto, and he's talked about it on I think the first album that came out on Death Row once he actually purchased it.
I remember that now.
He ended up speaking about crypto on that album.
Yeah.
So those metrics kind of add up to why he might have done something like that. So it's like, okay, I get that. But with Nelly, even with Nelly though.
Well, even real quick with Trump, there's also the thing with Harry O where Trump pardoned Harry O. So
was it Harry O that he pardoned?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Okay.
That wasn't because he was Harry O pardoned?
No, 2021.
2021. There was somebody else that I want to say one of Snoop's friends that he was trying to get Biden to pardon, I believe.
I see.
And I think Trump.
Oh wait, if this is 2021, that doesn't make sense because that would be Biden. Let me double check.
Yeah, because
this.
Biden, you know, I think did he?
Somebody recent, Snoop actually posted somebody in his story a few days ago, pretty much stating that they were trying to get somebody he knows pardoned. So I don't know if it was the same person.
Well, then this makes a lot more sense to me now.
Snoop Dogg thanks Trump for pardoning Death Row Records co-founder Michael Harry O'Harris in 2021.
Okay,
that must have been one of the ones he did on his way out.
Okay,
yeah.
So that I guess that was kind of him posting in his story was the proof, or pretty much trying to say this is why. But I mean, when we go to Nelly though, Nelly is a different type of situation, and the reason why I say that is because a lot of us, the first time we heard Nelly in Country Grammar, he literally said, Bill Gates,
out, right?
Donald Trump let me in now.
Yeah.
So this has been his mission from the very beginning, essentially. You know what I'm saying? So he can say that
this is the long play.
Nobody else invited me to perform, and I see it as an honor to perform. It's like, we know who you were. He said this is a Kanye West situation. Like, Kanye, I'm the asshole, and then when he starts doing so, we're like, well, why did you do that? Well, I told you I was an asshole.
Yeah.
He literally told you what he was about when he first came in the game. I'm trying to sit with Trump. But the situation that kind of makes it make sense to me too is, I know we talk about artists who have shared a political side of things or made songs in that nature to address certain things. Nelly is not one of those artists.
No.
You know what I'm saying? He's never addressed anything political, anything that made any kind of social sense, so to speak. And then he might have a chip on his shoulder. Because back in 2004, you remember when he was supposed to do like a benefit for his sister died from a disease.
Yeah, she needed a bone marrow transplant.
Right. Okay. So he was supposed to do a benefit at Spelman University.
Yeah, I remember that he got backlash.
But he got the backlash
for the tip drill video.
Because of the tip drill video, and they wanted to meet with him prior or before that happened. He didn't want to do that. So he didn't end up meeting or having his benefit. Allegedly, I heard that he was saying if that benefit were able to happen, then he possibly could have saved his sister's life.
Mm-hmm. I remember that as well. Yeah.
So I kind of think when it comes down to caring about other people and what they think, I think that might have something to do with it, possibly. I mean, I'm just talking. I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's an angle I haven't heard.
Mm-hmm.
But you could be right. It was like, look, I'm gonna do what I want to do, because if I cared about what y'all thought, you know, I might have been in a different place right now. You know, like I said, man, Snoop, highest bidder. He goes highest. That is one thing that he has done. But sometimes I wonder how much is enough, because all of these Snoop, Rick Ross, Nelly, these guys have made a lot of money, whether it be through endorsements, record sales, touring, and so it's like, where does it come in? Is there anything that you'll say no to? I mean, and now that you've done it, was the money that you got worth it for you to have to go through this where people are questioning your integrity? Because they're in a situation they don't care. I mean, again, these are millionaires. Yeah. Sometimes we forget, might be close to being a billionaire. I mean, Snoop is the people's champion when it comes to hip hop, as far as being able to recognize you. But here's the thing too: even if people cancel Snoop, he's not canceled, because he still has a whole side of America. Like, if we split America down the middle now, because I mean, essentially there's two sides of America. Right. I mean, we call it Republicans and Democrats, but actually there's other people like us that don't feel comfortable identifying with one party. Right. I know I don't personally. No, me neither.
Well, I don't think it's less. I think it's less left and right. I think we're starting to get a little bit more aware of class consciousness. It's less about Republicans and Democrats. It's more so about the wealthy class versus the common class. And Snoop is aligning himself with the wealthy class and the billionaire class of that manner by doing something like this. So I think there could be implications. There could be backlash because of this, simply because look, man, like, there's no reason Snoop had for doing this. Like you are aligning yourself with white supremacy when you do this. It's just what you're doing. Like, there's no way that we can dance around that fact. Like, cool, I'll go do it. Nelly, he doesn't care. Don't care. But Snoop knew better. You know what I mean? And so, hey, that's my take on it.
Past, to his past, being somebody whose first single that we heard from him was 187 on a motherfucking cop. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So for him to, and I'm not saying that like identifies him, that particular song, but you came from an era where hip hop was political. That's the whole reason you made that song. That song wasn't about just going out killing a cop. You know what I'm saying? If you really listen to it, it's more so on the, you know what I'm saying, you did something, or you're a crooked cop, essentially. It's not just every cop. But
it's about the system of policing.
It's absolutely about the police.
Right. And then you can follow that along,
It's political.
Exactly.
But now you're in a situation where the Snoop Dogg of the past isn't the same Snoop Dogg that we have now, because he's been able to change his image based on his affluence. Technically, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure. I have no problems with, I mean, we've talked about this ad nauseum on the show. Like, I have no problem with Snoop going out and getting as much money as he can, but like, it's just so hypocritical of him. I think that's the thing. And like, it's just what it is. It's just like, he did that. He aligned with it. He didn't have to. He's not starving. You know what I mean? Like, it'd be different if it was like, shouts to Open Mike Eagle, because I did a reaction on his video where he talked about this, which was really great. But like, he talked about, he made two kind of funny jokes. One, he said, I think that rich people shouldn't rap anymore. And if they do want to rap, they should only rap to other rich people. That's kind of what he said, and my take on that was like, cool, but just stay over there if that's what you want to do. Yeah. But the other thing that he mentioned was related to having more of an understanding if it's like an artist that is struggling, like if it's an independent artist and they're trying to
like a little pump that just wants to be seen.
Well, not even like that. Like, if it's like an independent artist, it's already hard out here for independent artists anyways, right? So, and one of Mike's points was related to corporate events and how you get paid more because they just suck. Yeah, essentially,
and the budget is crazy.
And we've all kind of done corporate events, and the budget's higher. And sometimes, as a creative, that's where sometimes you can get that extra money to like survive a little bit, right? It's one thing to do that as like somebody in that manner, and another thing to do it as a Snoop Dogg where you don't need to. Now, granted, I would still don't think there's a difference in whether you should do it or not necessarily to this degree, like a Trump inauguration, like, unless you rock with Trump like that, but there is a little bit of nuance in there as well.
You know what I think about now? It's just like, we can say, oh yeah, remember when Snoop was this, that, and the third, and you think even just being from the West Side, where which gave us an anthem, F Donald Trump. How do we go from F Donald Trump to just performing at the Crypto Ball? But I also have to think about this. Snoop Dogg is somebody's millionaire grandfather. You know what I'm saying? Like he doesn't have the same priorities as, us. He just doesn't. Like what he's thinking about as far as branding and maybe expanding his brand. Like if he can get some of these folks to get into, because this is the thing, like he was like, okay, say we do as a culture begin to turn our back on Snoop Dogg and he starts to lose opportunity within the culture. He set it up to where like, hey, he'll be able to come around, all these, January 6 people and play songs for them. Maybe he's thinking, I'll do this. There's more money on that side. I would hope he's not that far gone. But, like this seems like this could be a whole play like that for him. Like I said, Nelly, I don't, because
same thing with Nelly too, though.
Yeah, you're right, because you know what, he's been getting money on that side with the country music situation.
Yeah, the country music. When he goes on tour, he's with like New Kids on the Block.
Yeah,
or he's with like a Boys to Men. It's like a legacy tour. Yeah. So most of the people that are buying tickets not based upon your political views, but I'm literally here to probably see New Kids on the Block. But Nelly's here. Is an added feature.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So they're going to rock with him. But in the same token, I don't personally think it affects his career.
No.
It probably doesn't.
It probably doesn't.
Yeah.
The crazy thing is I saw someone say, hey, maybe radio stations should stand down on playing on Nelly, Snoop Dogg, Soulja Boy, and Rick Ross. They don't play they don't play their records now anyway.
Yeah.
These aren't contemporary artists. Like, so, I mean, I understand. This shows how when I saw the post, I was like, okay, I get what you're trying to say, but this shows
I've seen the same post.
That's where you're disconnected from what's going on out here.
Do you think, I know we spent this time harping on Snoop and Nelly, but are we going too light on them in the same sense? Like, because you remember what happened in 2016 with, what's her name? Chrisette Michele. She essentially just disappeared off the planet. Like if this was Kid Rock,
we wouldn't care.
We wouldn't care.
We would expect that from him.
We would expect that from him, right? But but do we go softer on Snoop because of it?
Yes, because honestly, we should have the same energy that we had for Chrisette Michele.
Should, but the thing about it is Chrisette Michele isn't the same type of artist, unfortunately.
You're right. And she might, if she did it for the check, it's one of those people I would understand. What else is she really booking?
Me personally, I didn't see a reason to cancel Chrisette Michele even back then. Because I mean, when we think about the optics or somebody canceling somebody, so to speak, and even your point of somebody that mentioned boycotting their songs on the radio, I think we should spend that time figuring out something else, because that doesn't add to anything to benefit us, even by boycotting these people.
Yeah.
They're already in a situation to where they're like, all right, you boycotting me? Oh, well, I'm rich anyway. I can disappear into oblivion and not have to worry about y'all. But then on the other hand, do we really want to sit at the table? Like people say, do you want to sit at the table? So if Snoop and Nelly had an ulterior motive to where they want to use this opportunity to actually put things on the forefront, I'm for that.
I'm not, because I don't want to be a part of that table.
No, okay, so there's two different scenarios as far as being a part of that table or not.
Okay.
And this is the same situation when it comes to them telling young black men to become cops, essentially, so that you can change the situation from within.
Right.
It's just what it looks like.
But you can't do that. That's not a thing.
You can't, but you can. You have to be a part of something to change it, essentially. And this is just
these are
hypotheticals.
These are ideological differences that we have. But yes,
these are hypotheticals. If they were doing it in a situation to where they wanted to get in and actually put things on the table for them to actually talk about and address and actually do something about, versus just showing up to say you so-called support because this is a high honor and this is the president of the United States and there's troops out there fighting for our freedom. What is it to me to go perform? Yeah. If you were in a situation to where you actually want to sit at the table with them and figure something out, I mean, you just pardon the what are they called? The Proud Boys and whatever, blah, blah, blah. To me, that doesn't sound like he's going down the right path that he should be going down. Yeah. But if you wanted to sit at the table with them, or somebody that would actually speak some sense into our country, so to speak, because that is the representation of our country. Yeah, I could see it. But the way that he came across does not show any of that. You know what I'm saying?
You know, now that I think about it, you know, we bring up Chrisette Michele. We should be a lot harder on the people who perform for Donald Trump now, because at least then we could say, okay, maybe he will be presidential. Maybe he will try to do something to bring us together. He got the benefit of the doubt then. Like, I remember when Dave Chappelle did his monologue, you know, and tried to say, okay, well, we with you. We got to try to get through this. But now, after Charlottesville, after January 6th, after the dog eating the dogs and cats,
after the declaration that you're going to try to deport,
after calling
2 million immigrants,
African countries, shithole countries, after all the things, after, denigrating, Colin Kaepernick, after all these things, we have a clear picture of who you are and how you move, not only in private, but in as far as your policy is concerned. We should really hold them accountable.
Yeah.
I think, honestly, if anything, Chrisette Michele, I could give you, we were upset at the time because, especially when everybody said, hey, this may not be the best idea, but she did it anyway. It's whatever. But now that we have a clear picture of him basically, pardoning a bunch of people who, if they look anything like us, they would not be pardoned.
Exactly. Those were, what did he call them? The Proud Boys or whoever had the tiki torches? They were upstanding.
Yeah. Upstanding people.
Yeah. So, I mean, honestly, that's enough for me. The fact that he promised to do this and he did it, and he let all these, like I said, I don't ever want to hear from a certain segment from that side of the aisle about about law enforcement when you literally let people out of jail who assaulted police officers. I can't take you seriously now.
For sure.
Yeah, the only way to boycott anything is to hit them in the pockets. And I'm not talking about these artists that we're talking about. Granted, they did some bullshit, but we also seen at this inauguration, we seen the owners of Meta.
Yep.
We seen the owners of Amazon. We seen the owners of X or Twitter or whatever you want to call it, right there, right beside him.
Yep.
We're talking about boycotting people. Yeah. And you're using these same apps that all of these people own to talk about boycotting somebody. Yep. So
we're going to get to that. We're going to get to that. But yeah, I was curious if, about the same type of energy from Chrisette Michele versus Snoop and all that stuff,
But it's also, I mean, she wasn't the superstar artist that they were, but also I think we, I hate to be, it sounds like pandering, but I was like, it's much easier for us to jump on this black woman for doing something.
Yeah, it's low hanging fruit at the end of the day. This wasn't anybody that was in stature as far as when it comes to entertainment. We still have to worry about who is and who isn't supporting R. Kelly. You know what I'm saying? R. Kelly did some heinous crimes, but people are still kind of like, I don't know.
Yeah,
I think it's cool if you play it. You know what I'm saying?
And I'm not even saying that like boycotts or trying to cancel. I don't know if I really agree in canceling or anything like that, but I do believe in accountability and everything related to that. So
I do like what, I don't know if you've seen Van Lathan, when he broke down, Nelly's whole thing about how that's where like I said, man, it's like, I would just be happy. I'm happy when people say, hey man, I did it for the money. Like,
at least we know.
Yeah, but you in here
don't even really need
smiling and tap dancing.
It's almost worse.
Yeah, but you know what? That's you can never say what somebody else needs. Just like I don't need another hockey jersey. I just want it. So like that might have been. It's just not like he needs the money to try to make payroll or pay his mortgage or whatever. He just wanted it.
And I think that's kind of where I'm at with it. Like I don't really personally care necessarily, but at the same time, like it just reveals to me who these people are. That's really all it is. Cool. This is who you are. You're willing to do this for X amount of money. There's a price tag for you. You're going to do this. That's who you are. Cool. I know who you are now. It's just a personal thing for me. Like, does it mean that I'm going to cancel them? I don't even know what that really means. You know what I mean? But maybe not. I don't know.
Yeah.
Did I remove all of Nelly and Snoop songs from my restaurants playlist? I sure did. It is what it is. I found some other people who, and they won't be missed like that. But I mean,
I guarantee you that when what is your favorite joint where you say "goddamn"?
Oh no! If Gin and Juice came on,
No, not gin and
No, it was
juice.
like-
It ain't no fun.
oh yeah. Ain't no fun. Yeah.
And that's going right.
Yeah, that's still going.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
I might
mean-
sneak in a joke about it, but
yeah, it's going. And I ain't picking on you, but I'm just
no.
saying,
I mean, but like right now,
I'ma still play it.
I mean, like, yeah, but as far
I'ma
as
still
like,
play
you know,
it,
when I'm at work, I was like, no, I don't feel like playing.
I think a lot of times the whole thing about canceling somebody is this is what's in for this week and next
Yeah.
week and the following week. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then it disappears because Snoop hasn't said anything about it.
That's what he should be doing.
He's just
should
doing
say
like
anything.
cryptic kind of posts that have, you know, to maybe I don't know what he's doing, but it's weird.
He made one post that pretty much said it's crypto.
Mm-hmm.
He did, and it wasn't even a post. It was just in his story. So if you didn't watch the story, you wouldn't have seen it.
I did.
He
think it
hasn't
was,
said anything. Nelly has doubled down, and it's funny because the energy he had with the interview with Willie D was different than the energy that he had with the interview with whoever he talked to second.
oh.
With Willie D, it was more so sticking out his chest, and then the second one was him trying to explain it a little more softer
I see.
for people to understand. But I mean, it was essentially the same thing. I don't know. That's neither here nor there.
I don't know, man. I just don't like any of it. I hate to say hate because I really don't hate anything, but like
you dislike.
but I really hate Donald Trump and everything he stands for, and I hate that
I know you
people.
can say hate there.
I know intentionally, and like they're evil, and when I see somebody posit and align themselves in that type of manner, no matter what it is, to not have either be ignorant to the implications of it or anything, to me it just puts a bad taste in my mouth, and I don't really want to fuck with you anymore, and that's just kind of what it is. So if they're cool with that, they don't care about me, that's okay, and they don't care about people that have those same type of feelings, that's cool, you know what I mean? But like, you know, we started off this show like talking about we have 4 years of this shit coming, so it's you
So
know,
we're gonna have to pick and choose our battles for the next 4 years.
yeah,
And I quite honestly, I'd rather battle them, you know, the fact that there is a chance that they're going to uncap the price on insulin.
exactly. Like there's so many things. Like
Come on, man.
like I'm sure Snoop didn't have a conversation with his wife today about his wife being worried about being stopped as an immigrant and what all that stuff concerns. I did.
He might
You know
have
what I
to
mean?
talk with her about lupus and how the price of medicine has went up because your president decided to up the price. I mean, that's what's crazy about it. And I hate to get too far into politics, but for somebody to have that much disrespect for the other side of politics, and you all are pretty much running things together to get rid of something that benefits all of America, and to get rid of it based off of your dislike for the other side is crazy.
Yeah.
Because these people don't have money like you.
Yeah.
So if everything is capped at $30 and now your first day in office, you decide to roll that back to where no, they can charge you whatever.
Yeah. But that's what I mean. Like you know, and I'll end my part here as like, but that again, that goes with the class related thing. I think it's less left right. Like the people, we're still looking at this as left right, but it's really even the insulin thing. That's a wealthy. That's the corporations profitizing healthcare. That's business. That's the oligarchy that we are in right now. You talked about the tech people at Trump's inauguration. All that's like, that's where we're at right now. And I wish people would focus more on that as opposed to, you know, like hating somebody, you know, on the other side, which is why when you have power like Snoop does and Nelly does, like it's frustrating to see people be that ignorant or to be that just kind of oblivious.
We're not using it for the greater good of what their influence can actually do.
Yeah. Thanks to our partners. Dr. Coleman of Coleman Dental is our go-to dentist. He's a longtime Indianapolis arts and music supporter located right in Broad Ripple. Our good friends at Indie CD and Vinyl operate one of the best record stores in North America. Shop new and used in their site or visit them in person. And the best way to support the New Old Heads is to visit our Patreon and become a member. All details on newoldheads.com. Rap music industry versus hip-hop culture. That's what I'm going to name this segment because, again, we're actually going to watch another Torre and King Green segment from this. They dropped an entire live stream. It was about 2 hours long where they talked about TikTok, Trump, all this stuff, and it was a really good episode.
Was this the one like within the past day or something?
Yeah, it dropped on the last day, yeah. So I took the first part from that, and then this is the second part of that because we had already planned to talk about TikTok and social media and the impact of that, and they have a little bit about that as well. So we're going to tie all that nonsense in together here, but this particular segment right here we go.
Early hip hop was revolutionary. It was countercultural. It was like, it was in many ways against America, right? America was afraid of it. Now it is the dominant culture in America. It is $1 billion industry, as you're saying. It can't be the counterculture. It can't be revolutionary anymore. But it can be a culture. But as we're saying, it lost the political spine. It lost some of the things that are central to what makes it what it is. Or what
I think it's two different things. I think it's the rap music industry and then hip hop culture. I feel like those are two different things. It being a counterculture is possible with a smaller voice.
That is so important that I hear people say things like rap is bad in general. And I'm like, what do you mean? And they're like, listen to the radio. And I'm like, the radio does not determine what hip hop is. It may determine it for a lot of people, but there's a lot of MCs who will never and don't want to be on the radio. Rap is much bigger than the music industry. So if you want to make a statement about hip hop, we have to talk about more than just the artists who are getting
and there's so many
played
subgenres. And someone asked a beautiful question: can subgenres become the new countercultures? What happens with countercultures nowadays is that people cosplay counterculture because it's new and someone's doing something honestly. Like, say if I come up with some new version of hip hop called hype hop or some shit like that, and it's focused on being super revolutionary and political, but still super energetic, and it has this new sound, and people are like dancing to it, but it's political, right? Someone else is gonna make that song, another person's gonna make that song. It's all about wearing the color green. Now everybody's wearing the color green. It happens. What would happen in 5 years happens in 2 months. Because of the internet. And then it becomes tired in the cycle, and it gets commodified by this company saying, this influencer, go ahead, put on a green shirt, and we want you to make a hype hop song and put it on this commercial. And like we said, anybody has a number. So now the kid that was coming from a counterculture perspective is like, they just offered me $700,000 to do my hype hop song for nerds candy. I'm taking the $750,000. I'm from St. Louis. I ain't got nothing but this music that I'm making. I'm gonna come out with this. Oh, and they want me to rev up the like content about like hating this certain group. Let me keep on doing that because that's gonna get my money. It happens rapidly. The commodification and the infiltration of the mainstream corporations in society goes directly into these countercultures, and they get killed very quickly.
So there's a lot there, but I really like this segment from Rap Latte. So please check this out if you want to see more of what they're talking about. But the way that they both tied in the subgenres in relation to TikTok, and then we also talk about the ban within itself, and then it came back, and then the last segment where Terry, you mentioned how all of these social media moguls, if you will, and not just social media moguls, but you're talking about Zuckerberg and Tim
Bezos.
Cook and all those people were at the Trump inauguration. This is all very loosely, well, not even loosely, this is all kind of tied together when we talk about the second part here with the subgenres and how hip hop can form and how it forms and everything. Do you guys have any comments in general based upon that and or the TikTok stuff? Or
well, with the TikTok thing specifically, when I saw it go away, I was like, oh, they were really serious about this. But then it comes back and it's like, oh, we're going to work with Donald Trump, even though he's the one that proposed it to be banned in the first place.
Yes. That part.
The crazy thing that when I see Zuckerberg, and if you don't know who Mark Zuckerberg is, he's a guy. He's a guy who basically controls Facebook and Meta and Threads. Okay.
Instagram.
Yeah. It's exactly. And then you have Elon Musk, who is over, I still call Twitter, but X. And so
that's stupid.
When you think about the size of these platforms, and then if say concessions are made to Donald Trump to maintain TikTok's viability, you're talking about not just social media, but you might be talking about state-run media and state-run by the Trump administration, because if anything happens on these platforms that they do not like, or, the whole fact-checking thing, they're like, yeah, we don't like fact-checking, so we can, call everything fake news, and so if just that protection goes away on all of these platforms, then you have to look at, okay, now, like I said, we're in an age where you're seeing these people who run these state-run, are saying it? These social media platforms basically went to go kiss the ring. I'm being kind when I say kiss the ring.
But they did.
And so now what my fear is, you know, if you're still going to participate on any of these platforms that I mentioned, what are you going to be seeing? Now, me, I'm not as worried because, like, I'm just a little bit more savvy about things. I understand, I'm there to look at pictures of nice cars, dogs, transformers, and racially ambiguous women with large asses.
There you go.
I'm very honest. My Explorer page, it tells my story on a regular basis, and maybe not the way that I would want people to know, but it is what it is. But say within that realm, all of a sudden I'm being introduced to some information that has nothing to do with what my algorithm has been since I've been using these platforms. It starts to push, like, every once in a while it'll just get something completely wrong. Like,
that brings up a very good point. Like, what concessions did TikTok make, or will TikTok have to make to keep its presence in the United States, right? Because we already know what Facebook and Meta has done.
Yeah, I have an idea.
We know what Twitter has done. It's Elon Musk. He's like the Doge panel or something. It's a clown show. But, like, will this have an effect on creatives and artists in the same type of manner, right? So that's really the conversation.
The thing about culture is there's been a culture shift, especially when it comes to hip hop. Hip hop is not the same hip hop that we came up on. The culture isn't ours anymore when it comes to hip hop. Once it took over a pop situation being the most popular form of music, we don't really own it the same way that we do. So it doesn't necessarily directly affect us or mirror what the culture is supposed to be.
So I think that was speaking back to the video that we just watched, that was one of the main arguments that King Green and Tori were talking about, as how there is a significant difference between the music industry and hip hop culture.
Oh yeah.
Right. And so, like, hip hop culture, it still exists, but it is very different from what the music industry is, right? And how does hip hop culture exist within social media is really kind of the question. And can subgenres pop off, and grow? And
they already have, though, essentially. Because, I mean, we have people and we've talked about this endless times about how people literally make music just for TikTok. That's not the true essence of hip hop culture. That is a pop culture, a social media culture type of situation. It doesn't have anything to add to the culture of. It's just social media things.
Well, kind of. I mean, it's just a different way to promote to some degree, right?
But they don't care about the culture.
Ooh.
The artists that are putting out this particular type of music, they don't hold.
But I feel like everybody utilizes these social media platforms. Everybody
absolutely do. But as far as a cultural standpoint, for example, Sexy Red posted an AI picture of herself holding hands with Dr. Martin Luther King, with them face to face, essentially. Dr. King's daughter stated that, I think that was very distasteful for you to do that.
Right.
The reason why I bring that up is because previously in time, you wouldn't have an artist that would do that in hip hop, at least, because you respect them more than doing something that would be distasteful like that. I wouldn't have to tell you that's distasteful.
For sure.
And she apologized for it, but this is a reflection of what's going on, period.
As it relates to the culture.
It's not a rich culture as far as, what am I looking for? As far as, like, people are like aware, going to bat or aware of things. They don't care about it.
But I guess that I still kind of pose the question, though. I feel like what you're describing here is the music industry, not necessarily hip hop culture. And I feel like they exist in the same space at the same time, and there is some overlap there, right?
It's just not the main focus of what hip hop culture is.
Look, when think about the times when we go see our friends, do something at one of the local spots, I can still say that's where I can still always take up for hip hop, because these are people who got to get them go to work the next day, and they still want to rhyme. They still want to DJ. They still want to, we know actual people who are still very much into the b-boy culture, and they're not going to see a dime from it. And it's not because they don't want to or there's no potential, but they're not thinking brand deal.
But would it be
when they create their art? Let's just be honest. There are some people, if they don't create something that's going to maybe work in a McDonald's commercial or be able to sell some sort of earbuds or whatever won't or wind up being played during halftime at a sports contest. That sounded old. But there are people that are like, okay, this is gonna do this, and I'm here. But when you make music that is truly what Tori referred to as counterculture, that's not where your head is at. You're trying to say something specific to somebody that may not be popular to the populace of people who might want to buy, potato chips. Like you can't. There are some people whose music is never going to be in a car commercial. It doesn't matter.
But what you described is, what you described when you talked about the B-boys and the people that we know, that's the minority.
I think that's
core. That's core.
That's
culture.
Core. But also, I think, look, the people who actually, even with the intent of making music that is going to, let's just say bare minimum, get on the radio, okay? Because everybody can't get a brand deal. Everybody is not going to be able to do corporate events. So just say bare minimum, they want to get on the radio. That's still a very small amount of people that are able to get on the radio. There are people who were popular 2 years ago. They can't get a song spun on the radio for anything, and they're still on major labels. When's the last time? I mean, I know as a group we don't listen to the radio that often, but DaBaby, when's the last time DaBaby was on the radio? At one point, and I hate to always use him as an example, but you saw how quickly he was at the top of the game, and then all of a sudden, like, he's become a niche artist again.
That's because he qualified as somebody that could essentially be canceled.
Yeah.
But Terry's point about his example of MLK and Sexy Red, at least what I took from what you said, I think you're spot on as it relates to the lack of importance on the culture piece versus the actual hip hop piece, because we're talking about the two. It's not as important as it was. It's nowhere near close to being as important. I'm talking about when we speak of the conversation of upholding the culture, quote unquote. That's not even a thing anymore to me. I think everything else supersedes that, in my opinion.
I think that maybe I'm wrong here, but I think we're there's a difference from rap music and rap industry. The most popular genre, rap music. I don't call that hip hop music because hip hop music isn't popular in that type of manner. Like in general, like the art of rapping over a rap beat is typically what's popular. And I feel like from an industry standpoint, that's where Sexy Red aligns. And I feel like, yes, sure, with social media, to King Green's point in what he said, he's like, instead of it taking long, it happens really fast, right? So it's in our face all the time, right?
Right.
But there's still plenty of people that are out here holding the flag for hip hop in a lot of capacities, and I feel like it's out there in a lot of ways, and I feel like the music is still being made, and it still exists in this area. But I feel like the things that you guys are talking about in general is rap music.
Well, let me reframe it a little bit. So, like when we talk about what hip hop has evolved into as far as being the most popular genre, certain things as far as culture has went out of the door as far as that's concerned. Now, us as people that came from, again, like Jay Moore spoke about, the core of hip hop, and there are people coming up that do respect and want to honor the core of hip hop. I feel like there's a majority of people that don't really care. And the reason why I say that is because, so we have this situation going on with Drake and Kendrick, obviously. So you can say that one of them is definitely for the core hip hop head, so to speak. The other one is for the bad culture or the capitalist culture, so to speak.
To me, that's a perfect analogy of the rap music industry versus hip hop culture is Kendrick versus Drake. I think those are literally flags for each side.
Exactly. But you see who has, so they just named Drake the biggest artist for the past 10 years.
But who is they, right?
Well, they is Billboard of the music industry, so to speak.
Billboard, but Billboard, again, we've reviewed their list. They're not hit.
Yeah, of course we don't.
I'm going to keep pushing back in general.
I know, but I'm speaking
Billboard is about
generally.
metrics. It's about metrics.
It's numbers. I'm not speaking from us.
For sure.
We know what we like. We know what we enjoy. We know music, so to speak. But when we talk about the masses of people that pay attention to music, we know what they enjoy.
Rap music industry, I guess is what I'm saying.
Rap
or
industry
just the music. It turns into the music industry at this point because for an artist like Drake to be the top selling artist or the top artist of music in the past 10 years, it took on a different face.
Because there's nothing about Drake with him being the receiving that in terms of the list or whatever. when I see Drake, I don't think culture. I think pop artists.
Right.
I think popular music. I think record sales. I think Billboard. So when I look at him, it's like culture doesn't even pop up in my mind, as opposed to Kendrick, who wouldn't be top whatever. He's all about that. So that's the. I don't know, man. It's just
to me, Kendrick's able to balance the two.
He does do both.
Yeah,
I'll give you that.
And that's why I guess that's why I'm trying to distinguish the two differences. Like the differences as they highlighted is because like Kendrick does this, but he also understands how to move within this industry.
Which he proved in G and X.
He's
proved it in his career, but I'm saying most recently.
But like, I guess the the stuff that, yes, this is I like this conversation, but I would also say like my question would be like with social media becoming corporatized, which it always has been, but like TikTok was one of those social media platforms where the algorithm really kind of benefits the consumer, whatever they want. It's really good I love TikTok because it gives me exactly what I want to see. Right. But it also benefited us on the show because it helped us reach specific people a lot faster, right?
True.
With it becoming potentially state property or like state media.
I see where you're going. I see where you're going. I like that. I see where you're going.
Because Meta and
that's really
Twitter
good,
are state property at this point.
It's really good state property.
But shouts to,
Beans, we see.
But with that happening, I'm a little bit worried about how these apps are starting to take over and really control everything to where like everything that is the only thing that is going to work on these apps and the algorithms is going to be the rap music industry as opposed to the hip hop culture.
No, there's going to
thing, which I think is already kind of exists to a degree.
Oh, it's already there.
Obviously.
Yeah, it's already there. 100%.
But with apps like TikTok, you get a little bit of a flex of that, right? Instagram, not as much. YouTube is kind of in between, you know what I mean? But like more as this oligarchy continues to grow, as social media becomes more intertwined and as big business becomes the main thing, that pushes out culture, that pushes out everything else.
There's a video I put into our
chat.
Yeah, with Crooked Eye, where he said it's the worst thing ever that rap music and hip hop is the #1 genre because it opened the floodgates for everything that we're talking about now. Right. He literally was just talking about this on a podcast like 8 or 9 days ago. And the conversation that we're having right now goes hand in hand with that because he talked about literally the ramifications of people who are not embedded in the culture having access to be dominant, to be able to be prevalent in a culture they care nothing about. And that happens a lot. So when we look at the pie chart for what's most important, I do think culture has consistently been pushed down. It still exists, to your point, so it's still there. But over time and attrition, it's just gone down to me.
I don't think the culture has gone down. I think the awareness.
How it's pushed. Awareness. That's what I meant to say. I misspoke.
Because it still exists. Like we haven't changed.
We haven't. True.
And there's this exists in younger people too as well. It's harder for those type. This has been we've known this for this type of music. We made our entire musical career.
We've always been us.
It becomes the minority of the minority.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So we might have our glasses on to where we see things the same way that we've always seen it. But culture has shifted so much to where those same metrics don't matter. So when we even talk about social media, songs that get picked up on social media is based off what was catchy and what can I make a dance to.
Yeah, I mean,
you know what I'm saying? So the one of the latest ones is How Do You Want It from Tupac, which came out in 1996. You know what I'm saying?
That's a dance for it.
That's one of the most popular songs on TikTok right now.
Tweaker is a great example.
Tweaker, and that's been out for about 3 weeks.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? But I mean, essentially, the kids or the people on these platforms decide what's going to pop.
Yeah.
And that kind of leads to this point about subgenre. So there might be a subgenre of just a TikTok type of situation where I only make music for TikTok.
People do that already.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
Exactly. It just doesn't have a name for it, essentially. It's like, what did he say? Hype hop.
Yeah.
Like, and he talked about, well, if they're going to pay me $700,000, then I'm going to show up and do it.
Yeah.
That eliminates the culture and the bias and the actual moral that you stood on. It eliminates all of that. At one point in time, there was a code. Shout out to The Wire. You know what I'm saying?
It's a good show.
That code is gone.
Yeah.
As far as what people stand for, it's out the door. It's like, I stand for whatever. I'm trying to get a bag, and unfortunately, things have turned to the capitalistic side of things.
So that's where I was going to go, because I feel like it all denigrates. It all comes down to my favorite word, right? Because that's what capitalism erodes to all the time, and we are in an extreme version of that with our oligarchy that we're at right now.
So I'd be capping. We all would be capping if we said rappers rap to get paid. That's been going on.
Right.
So people want to make money, right? But it's been because of how popularized it's become, that has been shifted more to the forefront in the mentality of people that are rappers now, because they're giving it out so freely. Like, money is so accessible when you're associated with hip hop. The rest of it kind of gets pushed to the backside.
And this is also why, like, again, I'm anti-capitalist, because I feel like it doesn't matter. It's hard for art to exist in such a type of societal structure, because it's always going to be commodified, and we're always going to look at it as artists like, all right, cool, yeah, I can make this cool art, but how much of this percentage do I have to sacrifice to be able to reach this over here? And within capitalism, it's always going to be the case. And we're literally seeing right now is a perfect example to see this, not only across music, but literally everything. Yeah. Because as we saw, again, all these rich media tech companies sitting at Trump's inauguration,
billionaires,
right behind him.
Together.
It's where we're at. Yeah. You know, and so, yeah.
If you're going to make rap industry music, you've already made a decision, all right, that I'm going to participate in this system, whether it's exploiting me or I found a way to get through a loophole to where I'm able to get some money. Yeah. That these things are going to be very tied together in the next few years when we talk about social media, to even be able to locate what is considered counterculture within, like I said, rap industry music is different than hip hop. Okay. What Drake has done very successfully, and this is not a knock, and I know some people are going to feel it's like that, but he has done better at creating rap industry music in the last 10 to 12 years than anybody
ever.
That's facts. That's facts.
Because, you know, his everything, there is a profit motive behind all of his art. And I'm not mad at him, because like everybody's like, oh, I could do that. No, you can't.
No, you can't.
Okay. He has mastered making, you know, rap industry music that all has a profit motive, whether it's that house album he did, whether he's the music he does with 21 Savage. He has figured out a way to, you know, I mean, he's a little lost in the woods now, but after that whooping he got from Kendrick, that's what happens. If you are selling records like they used to do, when Public Enemy's on Def Jam, like they're still putting a marketing budget and they're trying to figure out singles. So it's not like even the music that was done from a revolutionary standpoint, there wasn't a profit motive considered, but that wasn't the primary goal of why, you know, Chuck D did Welcome to the Terror Dome. It's crazy because Welcome to the Terror Dome did wind up in, you know, an Xbox game.
True.
You know, with Peyton Manning on the cover. It's just kind of crazy how things like that happen. But I think that's more organic. I don't think he sat down and wrote "Welcome to the Terror Dome" thinking, "Okay, this is going to be an Xbox on an Xbox game in 12 years." Yeah, you know. But I'm there. Like I said, we've talked about how some people are like, "Okay, I'm going to write this jingle." I think a lot of these people, they're not even writing songs; they're writing jingles, potential jingles.
For sure.
You know, and that's the difference.
Pusha T.
Man,
he intentionally did that.
Man,
yep.
You know, but when he did, you know, Mr. Me Too, I don't think he was thinking.
Absolutely,
he was not thinking.
No, he didn't
okay, I'm going to get this, and I'm going to get my publishing check from having this and being you know, and this, that, and the third commercial for, you know, Mop and Glow. I don't know. I such a random. I don't even know if Mop and Glow still.
I mean, this conversation, we can chop this up 100 different ways. The rap versus
I love this conversation.
Bro, there's so many things that we can talk about for hours upon hours about the difference between and pros and cons and sub this and counter that. There's so much stuff that can be talked about here.
And I think when we still talk about hip hop, we got to think about that's who I feel like that's where the culture still lies, where people definitely are putting the artistic. They're not writing jingles. They're writing from their heart, and they're creating something that they feel is going to be a definitive art, whether 1 million people or just, you know, 1,000 people listen to it.
That goes to what Lone and actually both of you alluded to. It's there. Like, I'm not saying that it's not there.
Yeah,
right?
I didn't say it wasn't there there either.
But it's just, when we talk about they and the mainstream, it's just different.
But people are going to play these algorithm
But at the same time, too, though, we have a responsibility, I feel, and I had to learn this, to just push what you like.
Yes.
Push it to the forefront. Use your platform to expand and push forward the stuff that you say is what you believe in. Like, if more people start doing that, it doesn't matter what else is going on.
Yeah.
Well, it boils down to as well as cultural integrity. Cultural integrity is what a lot of people don't have and don't possess.
True.
Like when somebody sits down and talks to a Lil Yachty, who has actually evolved into an alright artist, versus who he was before. He doesn't know certain people and certain artists that we deemed as champions of the culture.
Right.
He literally just started listening to them. Mm-hmm. So when you have an artist that comes up and is deemed hip hop or rap, you don't even know what you came from or what is supposed to have inspired you. And I'm not saying that just because somebody's been around for a long time that they had to inspire you to do something. Mm-hmm. But you as a hip hop artist, I think it is your duty to know
where you come from,
the cloth that you are cut from, essentially.
Yep.
And I feel like, me personally, that a lot of people that want to rap could care less about that cloth. They just want to get in and
But you know why?
And that boils down to what he said as far as the countercultures. But where do those cultures fit in the long run as far as hip hop is concerned?
And not to get on Lil Yachty, but like him not knowing, who came before him and being influenced by that. What is the incentive for him or anybody else? Because without having that influence, he still got a deal with Sprite from the Coca-Cola company.
He did.
He still got a deal with Axe body spray. So he's doing what he did without the influence or the understanding of the influence, got him in bed with corporate America. Honestly, and what I felt he was doing was countercultural. When I hear a song like Cold Like Minnesota, like I didn't think that,
and that wasn't even supposed to be a real song.
I'm like, I didn't expect that to be in a Sprite commercial. Do you know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that's what he got out in front of it to do. But, that's where, say, why should I listen to this quote unquote, foundational music that came and created the building blocks of hip hop when I get all this without knowing any of that?
It goes back to what Terry's talking about when he talks about, we've used the word morality, principles. Prime example, Joey Badass, he just turned 30. That is a person that's younger, that is the opposite. Clearly, based off the music that he drops, how he moves, his visuals, he still cares about the culture. It's in his music.
Yeah.
So
and I know young people that still care about the culture as well.
Yeah, like that he's the prime example to me. The joint he just dropped, that's the culture.
I mean, but that's the culture to us.
To us.
Because you know what? Because there's
everybody.
It should
there it is.
Once again, it should be. But when you're talking about somebody there, I remember when Soulja Boy first came out, and he's like, yeah, man, I listened to some old school stuff, like 50 Cent's first album. It's about perspective.
But that's old school to him.
That's True. Old school to him. So now if I'm an 18-year-old rapper, we're talking about somebody like, do you know how, like, trying to talk to them about Pete Rock and CL Smooth or Tribe Called Quest is the same as, when I was 18, somebody trying to talk to me about Chubby Checker.
But I tell you this much, though. I will say this, even with the older rappers that preceded us and preceded our era, I did my due diligence to at least know who they were. I did. So that goes back to the whole conversation about morality and how people are wired. Everybody's different. This is true. But Terry's point about everybody not being like that is the reason why. Like, the majority is not that way.
If you are a 16, 17-year-old kid who's making music in his bedroom, and your aspiration, like your OG is Drake, that is old school.
It's terrible.
I mean, but once again, the person who you consider to be old school, like I said, he is the master of rap industry music. And so that's your influence. And that is, and to a certain extent, that's your culture. Like I said, if I'm a 17-year-old, 18-year-old kid in my basement making beats, trying to put a couple rhymes together, and I'm looking at Drake as the measuring stick of success, as opposed to, like, maybe at one point when I was looking at Run DMC and they sold $500,000 to $1 million, and they was happy to get a tennis shoe deal, as opposed to Drake, who has everything essentially except, you know,
or your OGs failed you and didn't listen to good music.
I mean, that could be it. But like maybe, but at the same time, maybe there's, like I said, there is a kid who is 17, 18, and he studies Kendrick under a microscope. I mean, so like, and who's not, like I said, he is a part of the rap industry. But when I hear, you know, especially an album like To Pimp a Butterfly, that is not rap industry music.
But why is it so unique to hip hop, though? That's my question. Because
is it unique? Or
it's not.
I don't think it's unique.
I think it's unique.
Or are you really educated enough to be able to say that, though, on the other genres?
Here's why. Because, and this is just me sitting back watching, right? I always hear,
but that's just people.
No, I'm talking about legitimate artists, like artists that are in R&B. I always hear them reference Stevie Wonder, Al Green. All these people were out before they were born, before we were born. So they can always October London tapping into Marvin Gaye. How old is he? But why is it so easy for people that are R&B singers or whoever, rock or whatever, to tap back into the culture that preceded them?
I think,
why is that so easy?
I think you are again to try to bring this all back to the point, right? Because we kind of veered off a little bit. Like I think what you're referencing here is you view these other artists that you're talking about that you like. I'm guessing you also like these artists that are referencing Stevie Wonder and all this other stuff?
The majority of them, but not all of them.
But probably most of them that you just referenced.
I would say most. Yep.
You're comparing the artists that you do like that do that to artists that you do not like in hip hop that don't do that. You see what I'm saying?
That's fair.
All the artists that you do like that are a part of hip hop culture, not necessarily the rap music industry, are doing the same thing.
That's fair.
I feel like I don't know.
But I'm using the other genre as an example because I don't see the conversation about, I don't see it being an issue as much in other genres as I do in hip hop. Or maybe it's just
I think you care about it more. Maybe
I do care. Maybe I care too much.
Absolutely what it is.
You know,
so maybe I care too much.
It's like people that don't grow up in the hood don't know what the hell goes on in the hood. That's why they're oblivious to it.
Facts.
But I think, you know, because we were going into very much about how the social media influence of what the culture is being influenced. Yeah. I think if you are someone, like I said, who makes rap industry music, the social media algorithm is going to be great for you because there are going to be there's going to be a lot of money put behind you to boost up your, you know, the same thing that Drake is complaining about now. That's going to be something. I think the veil is if you didn't already know, it's definitely, you know, the basically seeing Oz pulling the strings back there right now.
Yeah,
we're in a position right now with the culture to where, you know, when you look at something that pops up on your screen, whether it be Facebook, Instagram, X, you're going to be like, I'm wary enough to know, it's like, I didn't want to see that. Where is that coming from? But there are people whose minds, you know, their frontal lobe hasn't completely formed yet to where they're going to be greatly influenced by how much they look at their screen. And if they are into hip hop, it's like, okay, what hip hop is going to be pushed to them as viable?
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and so like what we talk about as counterculture, you know, like that's gonna be pushed down. Like
it's gonna be a challenge.
It's going to be a challenge to find it because it's not going to show up in the algorithm. Even if you have made it a point to hit the like on that whenever you're interested, because you know about this might be agenda setting where it's like, okay, I don't want to see Sexy Red in her foolishness. Not to pick on her, but that's just who, you know, is the lightning rod, and people will understand what I'm saying. But I don't want to see Sexy Red. I want to see this kid over here who, you know, rhymes about, you know, why, you know, so many Chinese people are in Africa. You know, well, I want to see that. Why is he talking about, you know, these geopolitics? I want to see more of that. But all I get is, you know, ass shaking and fast cars, you know, and then it's like, okay, who's setting this agenda on our social media?
It's the propaganda that Donald Trump and his comrades have set up.
Right.
That's exactly what's about to happen with social media.
Not comrades. You're going to get the...
Man.
Well, I mean, that's literally what's going on.
I mean, you know...
I feel you, though.
If you call them comrades, they're going to get offended because that's communist over here. So, you know,
well,
that's China, you know, even though China isn't communist. But
I see you, Long.
Yeah. No, that's a conversation I think we could continue to talk about. But I think we also saw within this conversation how very much when we talk about the subgenres and how it starts to branch off into other things too. When you start talking about the influences of different people, when you're talking about like, like our influences and who we thought were great versus if Soulja Boy is making ass music in 2006, but he's doing it for the art, he's doing hip hop. It's just what it is.
He cares about his trash music.
That's his subgenre.
That's his sub.
But that's what I'm saying. Like that's different than the other type of approach. You know what I mean? So I feel like there's lots of different ways we can get into. So no, I like this conversation. We could keep going, but I think we should probably end it here.
We probably should, because again,
it's another hour of this at least.
To circle it back to Drake and Kendrick.
Yeah.
Kendrick kind of aligns with a core hip hop, you know what I'm saying, culture, so to speak. And then Drake aligns with the capitalistic culture, so to speak. But at the end of the day, both of them are pop.
I got a React video coming out tomorrow from an FD Signifier video that says the title is "If You Like Drake," or if Drake is your favorite artist, and in the description says, "You're probably a loser."
I think I watched that. I watched that.
Yo,
I'm dropping that tomorrow at 11 to react to that, but it's a great video.
Yeah.
I don't know why that concept is so hard to grasp. The difference between the two, like
I just think we get it. I think we just get it. Again,
I don't understand why the concept is so hard to grasp.
It's the programming. It's the programming. It's where we come from. It's everything that we learn.
It's the new DEI. So they got rid of DEI for what makes sense.
And they called
for
what's
America.
It called now?
What is it called now?
At least in Indiana, somebody came up with a new term or something.
Yeah, replaced by MEI.
There it is.
Yeah.
What's that mean, Long?
It means merit, excellence, and intelligence.
Yeah, there it is.
So yeah, the new DEI, and this kind of goes back to our conversation about
So stupid.
about Nelly and Snoop even being picked to participate in this inauguration situation. They're the new DEI, so they only agree with DEI that's beneficial to them.
Yeah, because that's what that was. They chose them because they needed to fit somebody that was a little bit darker skin complexion to be a part of their thing.
Yeah.
Well, and part of the reason,
You have to appease to the one person at the Trump rally that's black.
Yeah,
well, part of the reason, people on the right, Republicans don't like DEI is because they're so bad at it. I mean, they did DEI, and that's where you get Clarence Thomas from.
So let's talk about, I'm guessing everybody here has listened to Mac Miller's Balloonerism.
Yes.
I did. Yeah.
So Balloonerism is the second, I always like saying it my way, but you can correct me, posthumous
Awesomeness.
album
Thank you.
from Mac Miller since the rapper's
tomato.
death in 2018. It was released alongside a short film directed by Samuel Jerome Mason on Prime Video, which I have not seen. I listened to this project, and I'm not going to say that I was pleasantly surprised necessarily, but it is a really good album.
I tell you what, man, I ran it.
Only because sometimes posthumous albums,
they usually don't land too well.
They usually struggle.
Yes.
But I pressed play on this and listened to the whole thing all the way through, and I didn't feel the need to skip it all.
I tell you what, man, this
From
is
a creative, artistic standpoint.
Yeah, because you have to kind of put yourself in a different situation and a different set of ears to listen to this. As a fan of this guy's music, I'll let you go first, though.
Only thing I'm saying is from to Lone's point, as soon as I pressed, we used to press play. We don't do it no more. But we'll technically
Still press
When I press play on my tape player.
Yeah, there we go.
No.
Yeah. But
press play on my phone.
the music, the musicality, the ideas, execution of production is live. This is something that I wish I could have been a part of from a session standpoint. I didn't know it was going to be this, and he was always musical with his production, but man, the way that this was set up, I thoroughly enjoyed this project. A lot of dope ideas, the vocals, the way it's arranged, the skits, if you will. He was talking about the chords in the beginning on the intro. That all that type of stuff goes to my nerd side when I hear that. But the actual music itself was beautiful, bro. I don't know what phase he was in. It's kind of spooky too when you hear him talk about
what phase he was in.
Yeah.
Obvious.
But when he was talking about certain things on that, it was kind of eerie, a little spooky, some of the stuff that he talked about. But I really enjoyed it, man. I really enjoyed the project. It's very good.
I need to listen to this a couple more times, but just from the jump, this is very close to being my favorite Mac Miller project. And
he's got some good projects.
And he's got a lot of really good projects.
Yeah.
So
I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it a lot. Go ahead, Terry.
Well,
I mean, I had to listen to it twice because the first set of ears I kind of alluded to. I listened to it as a fan of his music, and I kind of personally, somebody that I really like or enjoy rock with musically, when they pass, I kind of have an emotional attachment to it, so to speak.
Right, 100%.
So the first time I listened to it, it was real eerie to me. I think I told you about the second track on there. Sounds like you're actually in like
a funeral,
a wake, or you know what I'm saying, you're going to view the body type shit. It was weird at first, so it took me back a certain way, and I wasn't comfortable listening to it at first. When I went back and listened to it again, I had to listen to it with a different set of ears. And I listened to it just as somebody that may not have knew who Mac Miller was. And I was able to enjoy it from that point of view. And the musicality on there is crazy.
Man.
But it sounds like a tragedy.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, he's literally telling you what he's going through. But it is, the thing about music sometimes is there's pain in the poeticness of it for an artist that knows how to paint the picture for you, so to speak.
Right.
And I think he does that very good. He makes being in the attic essentially sound like a good thing to do on this album.
He at least describes it in a manner that's like, yeah, because I don't want to say he paints it in the great light, but he does a good job of kind of like explaining, like, this is just kind of where my life is right now. Mm-hmm. And I don't really have any interest in leaving it.
You know what's crazy?
Outside of the references of being dead
of heaven is comfortable, essentially. You know what I'm saying? Maybe not those exact words, but he alluded to heaven is where he wanted to be.
Yeah. And there's a lot of people that are going to be able to relate to this project.
Unfortunately.
On
a different side.
Exactly, bro. To the other side of it, there's going to be a lot of people that will be able to be moved by this. And to Lone's point initially, when we initially started talking about this, they usually don't land this well, these types of projects. And for this one to actually land well, just, in my personal opinion, it's beautiful, man. And it's sad too because of, to Terry's point, but it's just...
But there's a reason why.
It's partly because this album was not recorded once he had already passed on. He actually had recorded this before.
Right.
And just didn't put it out. Now,
this wasn't a piece together type thing.
Right. And you can tell it wasn't.
That's why it sounds so authentic.
Yeah. It sounds authentic. I mean, granted, I guarantee somebody probably put a little extra sprinkle on it here and there.
Definitely.
Yeah.
But it sounds like Mac really doesn't have a bad project.
I agree.
And that's because he was a musical person. I mean, he had an alias, a production alias that went by Larry Fisherman. And if you didn't know that Mac did it, you wouldn't know that's who it was. But anyway, this project, I think, was, and quote me if I'm wrong, was too closely centered or alike circles, and he was going a different direction, so he didn't put it out.
Yeah.
So this kind of sat in the vault, and they decided to put it out. But
Faces,
that's what it was.
Yeah.
I said circles.
Good call.
Faces, yeah. This project is deep, man. It's like when I hear it, it's like Kanye had a line in Power when he said this will be a beautiful death. If I could describe this as anything, that would be this album, because he's alluding to what ultimately is his demise. What's going to take him out, and it sounds so good. And I almost feel bad saying that.
Yeah.
Because is very musical, and it is very personal. And Mac had he had a knack of actually being able to create music that wasn't it wasn't popcorn shit. It was like he put some thought into it. This was literally his life. He would do this. The drugs helped him make the music, and the music was his escape, or actually his reality that would bring him back to earth.
Isn't it funny how it's not funny, but the artists that really pour themselves into the music, it always seems to surface and come out in the wash, if you will. This is the prime example of that. The people that quote unquote being alone always talk about, if you care, do you care? Clearly he cared about this. This was something he was actually going through in real time. They just tucked it away in the vault, and it comes out in the product.
Yeah.
It comes out in the product. This is a high quality product. It's not because he just pieced some shit together. Like, you can tell he was actually going through something and cared about what he was doing. He was venting and releasing, and it just came out in the quality of the music, man. I don't know what to say.
It's just one of those things where, of course, like it's hard to listen to just because, like, you hear the talent, you hear how well crafted it is, and you start having those selfish thoughts where you're like, I wish I had more.
Yeah.
You know, it's the same thing. Yeah. Like, you know, the fact that we only have, you know, 2, I mean, depending on how you count the double album, we only have 2 albums from the Notorious B.I.G. It just seems unfair.
Yeah.
You know, you go through all these what ifs, you know, and, you know, there's a line on there that just got me where he's like, you know, nobody dies on Thursday. I mean, on Friday. And he died on a Friday. Yeah. You know, and it's all like, there are parts of this where it's like, it's almost like it's a suicide note, you know, because in
a weird way,
you know, because the thing is, like, I know he did not technically commit suicide, but, you know, and, you know, when people ODing, nobody means to do it.
Yeah.
You know, it's always some circumstances where, like, you're really hit the bottom, or like a lot of people right now who we see wind up ODing, you know, they're being poisoned, you know, with all this fentanyl and whatnot that's out the streets. Like, these people are just trying to get high so they can cope, and
that's essentially what happened to him. You
know, and that's what we're dealing with when we, you know, where it was DMX or Michael K. Williams, or even it's not Philip Seymour Hoffman. Was that Philip Seymour Hoffman? Yeah, where like these people are just trying to get high, and they're essentially being poisoned by fentanyl, which. I mean, like, that's a whole nother conversation, but like, that's what makes it kind of hard to listen to, because of, you know, the circumstances of his death, you hear what he's rhyming about, and then you just think about what's going on in the world right now.
Yeah.
You know, and it just makes it, you know, you're happy to hear more Mac Miller music, but you're sad he's gone, and you're sad about, like, the state of the world that not only brought about his demise, but, you know, you just got to think about how it's affecting everybody else who is not as talented as Mac Miller. They're just struggling with this on a regular basis.
That's true.
Yeah.
You know, it sucks as fans, sometimes we get selfish, because to your point, we say, I wanted more from Big or whatever, like, we deserve more albums. The same way with Nip, like, come on, man, I needed more of that. We wanted more of that. Same way with Mac. Mac would fall in the same category. Like, I need more. We want more. As fans, we think about that, but you have to remove yourself from it and think about what people are actually going through. It has nothing to do with, you know, their gift. It's just real life stuff. And this is a prime example of an album full of somebody talking about what they actually were dealing with. Mm-hmm. And he just happened to, you know, execute it well.
Yeah. I actually watched a video on this whole Mac Miller album review from Professor Sky.
Okay.
And he talked about the song that you're talking about, Jay, where he talked about Nobody Dies on a Friday. Mm-hmm. And this just shows Mac Miller's musicality. Like, he wasn't somebody that just was a one-trick pony, so to speak. He actually was involved in music. So that particular song was actually a nod to the Beatles song. You Only Live Once, I believe, that was on Sgt. Pepper's.
Let's look that up.
I want to say it was the last song on the album, and I wouldn't have gotten that unless he actually alluded to or specified what it was. I think they have some similarities as far as
Come Together. You're talking about the outro?
No, not Come Together.
Oh, okay.
No, I want to say it's A Day in the Life. I think that's what it is. So A Day in the Life and Funny Papers.
Yeah, Funny Papers is probably to me is a standout on that record.
Yeah. Me personally, I think my favorites on there were Friendly Hallucinations and Stoned.
Okay.
I think are my favorite 2 tracks off of there.
Yeah, I need to go back and listen to it to pick it out. But I do remember I listened to this from a very intentional approach of like just wanting to listen to it from start to beginning. So I don't know any names of any songs, but the way that it flowed together, the minimalist parts and then the really heavy parts on the drums and certain parts, and the way that the music. This is great, man.
Background vocals, arrangement, bridge.
It's a really good project, and I feel like when it ended how it was supposed to as well. So,
recipes to Mac.
Recipes to Mac Miller, man.
NewOldHeads.com for all the education you need this year. If you see it, like it, subscribe, leave us a review, and also 5-star reviews are mandatory at this point. We really need y'all support. Make sure you check out our Patreon as well. Got a lot of great things going on there. To all the people that support, we appreciate you, and we'll see y'all next week. Peace.
Yeah.
In a minute.